I'm going to be referring to this Seiko 5 Sports here as the Sports. I did not plan on reviewing the Sports as it lacks a sapphire crystal. However, I happened to be in the watch department at Macy's and was able to look at a variety of watches in the Sports line and was struck by how colorful and handsome these watches are. The blue Sports that you're looking at has one of the more conservative looking color schemes in the line. The MSRP of the Sports is $295. I bought this watch online at Macy's at a sale price right before Christmas for $175 before tax. I thought I was getting the deal of the century. The watch is only $2 more online at Macy's now. The outer box of the cardboard watch box that my Sports came in got a little crushed during shipping because Macy's didn't pack it well. Not a biggie, these things happen. I really like compact, lightweight boxes like this because they're easy to store and cost less to ship when I resell the watch on eBay. The box has a convenient slot that contains Seiko's standard generic user's manual as well as information about Seiko's 3-year warranty. My warranty card was not filled out. YouTubers often evaluate the Sports harshly and unfairly because they see it as a watered-down reincarnation of a recently discontinued antiquated dive watch called the Seiko SKX. Until I see the death certificate, I am not going to believe that the Seiko SKX is actually dead, and I believe it shall return, though in an updated form. As a reviewer, the real question that should be asked is not how good the Sports is relative to the SKX, but how good a value the Sports is for the money. The Sports' crystal is made out of mineral glass, which Seiko calls hardlex. Hardlex is not terribly hard relative to sapphire. Depending on your lifestyle, there is a strong possibility that you're going to scratch the Sports' crystal at some point, which is why I'm only recommending the Sports for people who don't have active lifestyles. The Sports has a slightly recessed, inward slanting aluminum bezel insert. Aluminum is a fairly fragile metal and scratches and dents fairly easily. This insert's recession within the bezel affords it some protection. The insert lacks a lume pip. The bezel takes roughly 7 turns to do a complete rotation, which is 2 or 3 more turns than normal. The bezel has a comfortable feel and the action is smooth. The 120-click bezel does not line up exactly. There's a small amount of backplay. The flat hardlex crystal resides under the bezel insert, which is good because it affords it some protection. According to Seiko specs, there's no anti-reflective coating. The Sports doesn't need anti-reflective coating as the crystal doesn't pick up glare. I have 0 complaints with the dial. The dial background has a slight sunburst effect, which is done very well. It's not overly loud and doesn't reflect light. I can actually read the day and date, which is a rare experience for me as I don't have great eyesight. I really love the Seiko's day-date wheel as it shows Saturday in blue and Sunday in red. The handset is fine, the indexes are raised, have a decent depth, and a nice shape. Seiko made the writing on the dial a reasonable size. I like the Superman-esque 5 under the Seiko logo, though I worry about Seiko being sued by DC Comics over it. The Sports, while not technically a dive watch, is shaped like a dive watch, and for a dive watch, it is about average size relative to the world of insanely big dive watches that we live in. The Sports' diameter is about 43 millimeters. The lug-to-lug is a very reasonable 45 millimeters. The thickness is pretty standard for this type of watch at 13.5 millimeters. The case has drilled lug holes. The lack of signage on the crown is disappointing. The crown action is fine. My only complaint about it is that winding the watch is abrasive because the case is designed in such a way that you end up chafing the side of your index finger against the bottom crown guard. I don't normally wind automatics, but this would probably become a real annoyance to me if I did. When I first got the watch, I tried to unscrew the crown and wondered why the crown wasn't unthreading. Then I remembered that the Sports doesn't have a screw-down crown. You just pop it out. The watch has 100 meters of water resistance instead of the standard 200 meters of water resistance that a dive watch has. Because the discontinued Seiko SKX has a screw-down crown and the Sports doesn't, some YouTubers had a wig out about this, most notably the Time Teller, who went ballistic about the Sports before it even hit the streets.
I understand there's a bunch of colors and finishes. Oh my god, they have a PVD one. They have a gold one. Wow. It's garbage.
I like screw-down crowns as they help me to embellish my fantasies of being James Bond, but the reality is that very few divers are diving down anywhere near 100 meters of depth. Divers don't even use dive watches anymore. They use dive computers. You'll be able to shower and swim and snorkel with the Sports and not worry about getting water in your Sports. If Seiko is rating the Sports at 100 meters, I believe them. The Sports' ability to withstand 100 meters of water pressure gives you a hell of a lot of water resistance. The case is brushed on the top of its lugs and polished everywhere else. The finish is mediocre. The case integration with the end links is pretty piss poor. Look at the color difference between the case and the end link. The greatest features of the Sports are the bracelet and the clasp. While the end links look odd and out of place, their ability to pivot aids in wrist conformance. Some reviewers might complain about the end links being hollow. That is not important at this price point. What is important is that the end links provide a comfortable wear for the user, which the Sports excels at. The bracelet is very smooth and flexible and feels really good. It starts out at 22 millimeters, tapers down to 19.5 millimeters, and is 21.5 millimeters at the clasp. The clasp, while cheap, is everything a clasp should be. It's firm, secure, easy to open, and not too bulky. While there's a gap here between the clasp and the bracelet link, I'm not going to have a wig out about this like I ordinarily do because Seiko actually smoothed the metal. What a concept. Provide a cheap clasp that doesn't have sharp edges. I almost never encounter a watch at the sub-$500 price point like the Sports with both a good bracelet and a good clasp. The Sports weighs 158 grams, size for my 7-inch wrist, and 167 grams, unsized. It's a relatively light watch. The links use cotter pins. The Sports was very easy to size. The Sports' lume is great and will easily get you through the night. I really love Seiko's nice sharp green lume. The Sports houses the 4R36 movement, which is virtually the same as the ubiquitous entry-level movement that Seiko also makes, the NH36. The Seiko Turtle, which I reviewed recently, uses the 4R36 as well, and the Turtle is over twice as expensive. The 4R36 hacks and hand winds. I wasn't able to feel the quality of the Seiko 5 Sports' straps when I was at Macy's, but they did look a little flimsy through the display case. My advice for people interested in the Sports is to buy the watch on a metal link bracelet. We're living in a veritable strap utopia. You can probably buy a much better strap for not a lot of money and either sell the bracelet on eBay or hold on to the bracelet for when you resell the watch. You'll fetch a higher resale value when you sell the watch with a metal bracelet. I wouldn't buy the Sports because I'm too afraid of scratching the Sports' Hardlex crystal. I did, however, really enjoy my time wearing the Sports as it wears great, looks great, has killer lume, and has no sharp edges. Hi guys, this is Roman Brattle, and I am here to implore you to help me out by subscribing. For those of you who are subscribers, subscribe your wife, subscribe your children, hack into your boss's account and subscribe your boss, whatever. I need subscriptions. I am getting fucking killed on YouTube. I'm not going to go into the syndicate because if I do, it's going to look like I am thoroughly insane. But I do face an uphill battle. I have a hostile watchmaker market that doesn't like my style. okay? Because I tell it like it is. And I need your help. It is the only way that I can break through.